My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Jacksonville fight card, giving you my DraftKings picks, plays, and predictions. We have had several weight misses on this card, so things may get dicey. Let's jump in and see if that affects any of the analysis or picks. Before I do, let's celebrate the community, our premium members, the people in our community that spend $10 a month to get access to all the tools and information that we have. Are absolutely crushing it. They have won over $189,000 in the last 6 weeks doing DraftKings and bets. We had a $78,000 DraftKings ticket. We had a $50,000 DraftKings ticket, a $13,000 DraftKings ticket. Last week, Mitch made $3,000. Some tickets are massive, some are not as humongous, but a couple of grand a week, couple $100 a week. That's incredible. Congratulations to our community members. I have said this from day one. They are the sharpest community in this space, period, end of story. You could also have the same access that they do to the tools, the information, the optimizer, and all of that for only $10 a month. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. Also, join the Discord. The Discord is free. Pick these people's brains. They're in there hanging out, sharing information. But not everybody is an expert. Some of you are watching this video just for the UFC picks. Don't necessarily know what DraftKings Fantasy is. Well, we have added courses. Actual courses that will walk you through exactly what DraftKings Fantasy is, how to play it, how to build a lineup. Our first course is up now. Right here on the right-hand side, you're going to get all sorts of definitions and breakdown. What's your bankroll? What's a cash game? What's a ceiling mean? What is a GPP? All of those definitions of terms that you may hear and don't fully understand. And then when you jump into the actual course itself, you're going to get a full introduction to DraftKings Fantasy. We're going to talk about identifying contest types. We're going to talk about bankroll management, understanding the scoring, and then you're going to go ahead and build lineups. You just jump into the course, work your way through that content. You can watch my pretty face talk about it, or you can go ahead and read it and break it down here. This is available to premium members right now, this minute. Just click on more in the menu. Once you understand DraftKings Fantasy and you're ready to dabble, well, then head on over to all of our DraftKings Fantasy content available for premium members. We're going to break down every single fighter that we think you should have in your cash core, your GPP core, all the live dogs, the leverage plays. We're going to give you this cheat sheet. The cheat sheet has projected ownership, projected scoring, the leverage plays, and then we're going to rank every single fighter on this card by their player pool, whether it's cash games, single entry, etc. And then you could take that information and use our lineup. This lineup is literally going to build lineups for you. The optimizer is going to build lineups for you. You click a few buttons, it'll spit out one lineup. It'll spit out 150 lineups, and this will be pre-populated on Fridays by 6 p.m. every single week. It's $10 a month. Just the optimizer alone is worth the $10. WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member. Let's go ahead and jump into this card. We had 3 different people miss weight. That's a lot of weight misses. Then we had a few people look like absolute trash. Gillian Robertson looked like death. Wellington Turman looked like death. Let's talk about that, but the weight misses very quickly. Jamall Emmers missed by a little over a pound. That fight will remain. They'll just do some money thing. No big deal. Loik, Radzhabov, that fight, he missed weight. That'll remain. They'll do a money thing. No big deal. But Kleydson Rodrigues missed by 3 pounds. That is a big weight miss. Some commissions won't even allow a weight miss that big. Florida will. Florida allow just about anything. Florida will allow that. Now it's going to come down to Tatsuro Taira. And if he accepts catch weight, or if he allows the weight miss, and if they can come to terms on money, I will say that weight miss looked calculated, meaning didn't look like Kleydson was like chubby or sucked out. Looked like he was just like, I'm going to be a little heavy for this one because he knows he has a tough fight ahead of him. So we'll see if that sticks together. But let's go ahead, break down this card. We will start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. Opening up the UFC Jacksonville card, we have Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is stepping up on short notice. He took this fight less than a week ago. The original opponent for Dumas is out, so Cody Brundage is coming in. Cody Brundage is the favorite. He opened as a very slight underdog, and then he monsooned to he's minus 180 as the favorite. And I get it. Cody Brundage can wrestle. Cody Brundage has power in his hands, and we saw Dumas have no idea what to do with the grappling. My only issue here is I think Cody Brundage wins this fight. I think he can win by stoppage. I think he can land the big punches or get a bunch of takedowns, whatever it is. My big concern, though, is Cody Brundage's cardio. We've seen him slow down in the past. We also seen him be a little bit chinny at times, and SD Dumas can hit hard. He's coming off that fight over Rodolfo Vieira. He was credited with one takedown or one knockdown. He had more than one. It looked like he had two in that fight. He absolutely cracked Vieira. Then he started to slow down, got a little tired, and made a couple of poor decisions, and ended up getting finished in the second. He's taking on SD Dumas. SD Dumas was one of the most hyped prospects coming into his UFC debut in his last fight. He was $8,800, and he was taken down, controlled. He had almost no clue what to do on the ground. Then ultimately, he was finished. And that's why Cody Brundage is the favorite. That's why I like Cody Brundage to win. Depending on your lineup, $8,700 is a lot of money to spend on a guy that is feast or famine. If Cody Brundage wins, you're going to score a ton of points. If he loses, though, he's going to get finished. And that's just sort of the Cody Brundage story. And I actually think SD Dumas can win this fight. I bet on Cody Brundage, but I got him at minus 115. That's almost even money. $8,700 in DraftKings is not even money. Even money in DraftKings is $8,100. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with Cody Brundage in DraftKings, but $7,500 is not bad for SD Dumas. You're getting a discount because he looked clueless in his last fight. The reality is he can hit hard. He can grapple. He's actually a pretty good fighter. I do think Cody wins, but you may want to play some Tetris with your lineup to figure out what to do with these two. Then we have that Tatsuro Taira Kleydson Rodrigues fight. I mentioned Kleydson Rodrigues showed up over 3 pounds overweight. This fight may not remain, but Kleydson Rodrigues is a decent underdog here. $6,800. This guy's a savage. He's a well-rounded guy. He is a prospect. He's got a ton of potential. He's got versatile striking. He mixes in kicks really well. His takedown offense is only 25%, but when he shoots takedowns, they actually look better than that percentage. His takedown defense is just okay, right? It's not amazing. It's not awful, but he's coming off that knockout over Shannon Ross. CJ Vergara, you're going to see a loss here. I think he won that fight. A lot of people think he won that fight. And let's put it this way, 61 points in a loss. That's insane. That's insane. So I think Kleydson Rodrigues is an insanely live dog here. $6,800 is not a bad price point, and this weight miss may help him. As I mentioned, he didn't look defeated. He didn't look worn out. It looked like he was like, no, we're going to stop here. I feel good, and I would rather sacrifice my money and beat this guy. He's taking on Tatsuro Taira. Everybody's loving Tatsuro Taira. 2 submissions and a decision. That Carlos Candelario fight was a little closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be. Yes, he won convincingly, but he was in a couple of weird scrambles there. And the reality is Tatsuro Taira is a very solid grappler. He's a patient striker as well. But pressure can be an issue for him at times. He submitted CJ Vergara, but CJ Vergara got in his face, and Tatsuro Taira's takedowns started to look a little desperate later in that fight, just shooting a little desperately to get some of those takedowns because I think he didn't like CJ's pressure. Tatsuro should win. He should win this fight. And if he gets to the crown, maybe he can pull off a submission. I'm not going to spend the $9,400 on Tatsuro Taira. The weight miss for Kleydson doesn't scare me at all, depending what my lineup looks like. I think he's a solid play at $6,800. But I think if we're spending this money, we have some people that I can almost guarantee will win by finish, as opposed to Tatsuro with 94. You may only get a decision. A lot of people love him. A lot of people are insanely confident in him. So if you're in that boat, then absolutely throw him in there. And if the weight miss actually, you think it favors Taira at that point, then absolutely go for it. Jamall Emmers, Jack Jenkins. Jamall Emmers' weight miss was a little different. He looked like he tried to make weight and couldn't. And those smaller weight misses, the pound, half a pound weight misses, those are the ones, in my opinion, I'm no scientist here, those are the ones that are a little tricky because you tried to make the weight. You sucked, you pushed, and then you stopped. And you stopped because you didn't have any more to give. You stopped because you quit. Like the stopping is at 1 pound, half a pound is very different than at 3. At 3, you're like, I'm not going to make this weight. At 1, you tried and couldn't do it. I think that does affect Jamall Emmers here. I had Jamall Emmers winning. He's a good striker. He's actually a wrestler, right? He has a wrestling background. He's got good takedown offense if he wants to use it. Phenomenal takedown defense at 100%. And he looked really, really good in this fight against Radzhabov where he was an underdog. He defended all the takedowns, got one of his own, looked pretty good in that fight. But if he's sucked out and he's a little tired, he's going to have some trouble with Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins is a very, very good kickboxer, right? Ignore what you're seeing here with the takedowns. Before the UFC, Jack Jenkins was such a good kickboxer. He was breaking people's legs in MMA fight. Breaking their leg. His low kick is so good, he was breaking their legs. Plural. Multiple people. He comes to the UFC. And the fear was, this guy's all striking, no grappling. On the Contender Series, he gets 4 takedowns. In his last fight in the UFC, 4 takedowns. So now he has 2 fights in the UFC, he has 8 takedowns. The reason I originally picked Jamall Emmers is because I feel like Jack Jenkins is going to try to wrestle this guy because that's what he's done in his last 2 fights. And you're not going to out-wrestle Jamall Emmers, especially if you're not a phenomenal wrestler. Jamall Emmers' last opponent, Hussein Ashkabov, was a very good wrestler, and he couldn't out-wrestle Jamall Emmers. So if Jack Jenkins comes in here looking to wrestle, he's going to have a rough night. He's going to lose this fight. If Jack Jenkins comes in here as that kickboxer, lighting up Jamall Emmers' legs, which may be gassed at this point because of that weight miss, Jack Jenkins is going to win this fight. So take that breakdown as you want to, right? If you think Jack is going to wrestle, go Jamall. If you think Jack is going to go back to his roots, be who he was before the UFC and strike, and you think that Jamall Emmers' weight miss is a problem, then you got to go Jack Jenkins, $7,600, solid discount there. I'm not going to use Jamall Emmers no matter what because he's not going to win by finish here. So no matter what, Jamall Emmers will not be in my lineup. So it really just comes down to how you feel about that weight miss and Jack Jenkins. Then we got Trevor Peek versus Chepe Mariscal. One of these guys 100% needs to be in your lineup. Period. End of story. Chepe is stepping up on short notice. Very slight underdog in DraftKings. In real life on your sports book, some books have him as the favorite. Some has him as the underdog, but it's very, very close. He stepped up on short notice. He has all the credentials you could ever want. BJJ champion, kickboxing champion, collegiate wrestler. He's got all of those different disciplines and skills. The problem is he got 6 losses. I think 5 of them were to UFC guys. He just keeps losing to these UFC level guys. Joe Anderson Brito knocked his head into a different dimension. Steve Garcia finished him as well. He lost to Bryce Mitchell, a grappling match. But the reality is he's very good. He's good everywhere. And if he wins, it will be by finish. If he loses, it will be by finish. He's fighting Trevor Peek. Trevor Peek is not technical, right? He's not the most skilled at anything. What he is an animal. He will come forward with insane forward pressure, and he only knows one pace, and that is 100%. He's going to grab your legs, try to take you down. If he's far away, he's going to work in footwork, charge forward, try to get that done. He's just absolutely high pressure, insane volume. He knocked out Eric Gonzalez look at this, knocked him out in the first round, scored 131 points, right? That's incredible. He had 2 knockdowns. He landed 51 strikes, significant strikes. No, yeah, look at it, the same. Strikes and significant strikes, meaning every single thing he threw was significant. But he was also taken down a couple of times. I mean, it was a wild, wild first round. He was taken down twice, got 2 knockdowns. And that's why I actually think he's going to lose this fight. He's too wild for his own good. I think he's going to come forward wild, and then Chepe with the college wrestling is going to drop, shoot a takedown, get him to the ground, and Trevor's going to be all scrambly and weird, but let's not forget, Chepe has that BJJ championship as well. So I like Chepe to get this done, but if you're on the Trevor Peek side, this is a phenomenal price point because this dude was a huge favorite with his original opponent, and he opened as a huge favorite against Chepe, and then the line tightened like crazy. So somebody's getting finished in this fight. Throw one of these guys in your lineup for sure. Then we have another short notice guy. We have Josh Van taking on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Josh Van loses. Do not spend the $7,200. Do not put him in your lineup. He's 21 years old. Short notice UFC call-up. Style-wise, he actually has some decent striking. He's aggressive. He's got a little bit of power in his hands. His takedown and scramble skills are okay, but he's likely going to struggle with that at the UFC level. At the regional level, those takedowns will work. Those scramble skills will work. But what he does do a really good job of is he's a solid grappler, and he's looking for things in scrambles. He's looking for things. When you're trying to take his back, he's switching. If you work a takedown and he stuffs it, he's going to jump on your back immediately. Like, he's just always working those grappling things and looking to catch you in those exchanges. But the reality is, he's probably not UFC level just yet. And even though Zhalgas Zhumagulov is 1-4 in his last 5, he's good. This Johnson decision was bullshit. A lot of these decisions were bad. A lot of them were bad. He went to a decision without Bazzi. I mean, Zhalgas Zhumagulov is going to come forward. He's going to grind on you. He's going to work in takedowns. He does have a tiny bit of power in his hands, nothing crazy, but he's going to try to get this done. And his grinding wrestling pressure, his cage control, his jiu-jitsu defense is all going to be way too much for Josh Van. Zhalgas Zhumagulov should get it done. $9,000 is not the best price, but I think he could probably get a finish here. And I think he's going to get whatever takedowns he wants, a ton of control time. So I like him to win this fight. I may spend the $9,000 because you may get a finish out of him. Then we have Tabatha Ricci, Gillian Robertson. Gillian Robertson did make weight. She did. But she looked like hell doing it. She was one of the last people on the scale. Looked really sucked out, really drawn out. Just did not look good. She's an underdog here. She should be an underdog here. But Gillian Robertson has the most amount of finishes in this division's history. The most amount of finishes. She's big. She's strong. She's got solid jiu-jitsu. Her takedowns are not very good, but she does have takedowns. She averages more than 2 per fight. This win was very impressive, though. Submitting Rodrigues was very, very impressive. Like, this is like, oh, shit. Is Gillian good? Because before that, a lot of people did not think Gillian was good. She struggles with anybody who has takedowns. Miranda Maverick has takedowns. Santos has takedowns. Aldrich has takedowns. She struggles with people that can take her down and have jiu-jitsu defense. And that's exactly what Tabatha Ricci is. Tabatha Ricci has phenomenal jiu-jitsu herself. Is it as good as Gillian's? I don't know, like belt for belt. Certainly not as good as Gillian's if we're talking about catching people in scrambles. That's Gillian's strong suit. But the reality is Tabatha Ricci is a jacked powerhouse with endless cardio, mediocre striking, but good jiu-jitsu and good takedowns. She absolutely is going to take Gillian Robertson down. She absolutely is going to avoid the submissions. And I think Tabatha Ricci probably wins a decision with a whole shitload of takedowns here. And it's going to look something like this win over Oliveira. 5 takedowns, 7.5 minutes of control time. She'll avoid the submission. And we got her at $8,300. I like Tabatha Ricci for my lineup. Then we have Mateusz Rebecki taking on Loik Radzhabov. Mateusz Rebecki, $8,400, slight favorite here. These guys are mirror images of each other. He's a relentless grappler. He's going to come forward, throw big 1-2 punches, and then just start diving at legs. Even though he is a grappler, he will stick around for a firefight if you're going to let him have one. He's coming off this win over Nick Fiore. Listen, Nick Fiore's, it's not the best win in the world, but Mateusz Rebecki did get tired. But he didn't slow down. You could tell this dude was gassed, and he didn't slow down. Still got the takedowns. Still worked the control time. Still landed 90 significant strikes, 130 strikes overall. I like Mateusz Rebecki to win this fight. He puts up numbers. Loik is good. Loik and Mateusz are very, very similar. Very similar fighters. Loik probably has a little bit more power in his hands, but he also doesn't have that same wrestling acumen, I guess you could say. Loik gets taken down. You can take Loik down. Mateusz, much better wrestler than Loik is. You're going to see 11 takedowns for Loik in this fight. Well, the reality is 11 means you can't hold anybody down to save your life. And if you're going to try to take Mateusz down and you're going to try to hold him down with his scramble skills and his wrestling defense, you're going to have a hard time doing it. And Loik missed weight. He missed weight. And he tried to make it. Same exact narrative I gave you with the Jamall Emmers. He missed weight. He tried to make it. We could see him slow down a little later. I like Mateusz Rebecki in this matchup. I do think this is a fight where you need to have one of them in your lineup. I mean, 120 freaking points out of Loik. 100 and whatever the hell points that was out of Mateusz. This is going to be grapple fest. One of them will implement their game plan and do it well, and one of them is going to put up some very real numbers. You should have one of these guys in your lineup. If you're just going to go with the more affordable guy, well, then it's Loik, and let's hope that weight miss wasn't a problem for him. Then we have Wellington, Turman, and Randy Brown. I think you need Randy Brown in your lineup at $9,300. Wellington Turman did make weight. He did make weight, but he's another one of these people that looked like absolute trash doing it. And I get it. Randy Brown doesn't score a ton of points. You're going to spend $9,300, get 71, 70, 77. That's a problem, right? Those are not numbers that you want. But he's fighting Wellington Turman. Well, first of all, Randy Brown's long, rangy striker. Actually has some decent power. Very solid cardio. Takedown defense is okay, right? Very takedown. What am I running? I'm going to try not to get canceled here. So, Randy Brown, solid takedown defense. He's long. He can be a problem for a lot of people. He did get dropped and then submitted by Jack Della Maddalena, but Jack Della Maddalena is going to do that to a lot of people. He's fighting Wellington Turman. We have seen Wellington Turman finished. Wellington Turman had a questionable chin, if you will, before moving to 170. This is his first fight at 170. He looks like a different person on that scale. Jacob sent me a picture of him, and I said, who's that? And I knew all the people fighting on the card, and I'm like, who the hell could that be? He looked awful. And now maybe this weight cut and dropping to 170 is going to be the best thing he's done in his career, but I don't think so. I think Randy Brown's going to light him up. I think Wellington Turman's going to struggle a little bit. His chin was already questionable, and everybody knows the more weight you cut, the less your chin is able to do. He beat Sam Alvey here. That was a bad decision. He should have lost that fight. And then obviously the submission against Misha Cirkunov was solid. And actually this loss against Andre Petrosky, he looked good in that loss. His hands looked phenomenal. He just had no answer for the grappling. He just couldn't deal with the wrestling at all. I do like Randy Brown. $9,300 is a lot of money, and I'm going to try to talk myself out of it. But I think he wins, and he could potentially win by finish. And the scale, the weigh-in, changed my opinion on that. We got Neil Magny taking on Philip Rowe. A lot of you love Neil Magny in this fight. And if you do, pick him. Bet him. Because if Neil Magny wins, he's going to score a ton of points. He's going to get the takedowns. He's going to grind, hold Phil Rowe down, and win that kind of fight. Potentially submit him. So if you're on that side, then 100% go for it. Then you should do that, right? That's the type of fight, the type of fighter you want in your lineup. But he's taking on Phil Rowe. Phil Rowe has some very good striking, very pinpoint, accurate striking. Phil Rowe has mediocre takedown defense, and that is the problem here. He does get taken down, but he also can light people up. Look at this, riding a 3-fight knockout win streak. And that Jason Witt fight, he was taken down a couple of times and still got up and still got it done. I think Philip Rowe can win this fight. I think he is basically Neil Magny, but better. He's not going to have the same grappling as Neil Magny, but he's long. He's got much better hands. He's got legitimate power. And Neil Magny's starting to get a little older, starting to get a little worn down. Like, Phil Rowe is a younger, faster, more powerful version of Neil with a little bit less wrestling. So, I think Phil Rowe gets this done. But if you think he's not going to be able to defend the takedowns, which he may not be able to, if you think he's not going to be able to defend the takedowns, then you got to go Neil Magny, because that's an affordable price for a guy that can just ragdoll and get it done that direction. But I do like Phil Rowe, far more dangerous guy in this matchup. Then we have Brendan Allen and Bruno Silva. Listen, I'm a big fan of Bruno Silva. I like Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva has insane power. We have seen Bruno Silva get taken down 1,000,000 times. Let me show Bruno Silva while I talk about Bruno Silva. How about that? We have seen Bruno Silva get taken down over and over again and still work a knockout. That's what happened with Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez took him down, how many times was it? 5, 4, whatever the hell it was. 7. It was 7. It's right here in front of me. 7 times. Andrew Sanchez took him down 7 times. And he still stood up, still blasted him in the face, knocked him out. But Bruno Silva knocking out Andrew Sanchez, that's not the same as Brendan Allen. Andrew Sanchez is not Brendan Allen. Now, last time we saw Brendan Allen fight a striker that was dangerous and had power was Chris Curtis, and he got knocked out. So that is a problem. Sean Strickland also finished Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen has somewhat of a questionable chin, but Brendan Allen has very good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu. What he did to Andre Muniz was insanely impressive. What he did to Jotko was impressive as well. Not a dangerous striker, but a striker nonetheless. I think Brendan Allen beats Bruno Silva, potentially finishes him. Betting-wise, I'm not going to spend my money. DraftKings-wise, I might be able to get a finish chasing Brendan Allen here. Bruno Silva's very live for that knockout and always will be. But Brendan Allen, as of late, has been putting these tools together, and I got to ride that train. I think Brendan Allen can get this done, potentially throw him in my lineup. Then we have David Onama and Gabriel Santos. Listen, David Onama is very good, okay? He was just sort of ragdolled by Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr just took him down 3 times, was all over him, heavy pressure, wore him down, grinded him out, just outdogged him. But the reality is, you see this knockdown? David Onama almost had Nate Landwehr out in the first. And then, yeah, of course he slowed down. And of course he was getting outworked by the better wrestler with the insane pressure. But he also never got never quit, never got frustrated, never stopped getting up, never stopped working. Dude scored 52 points in a loss where he was taken down and controlled a ton. I think David Onama is a phenomenal underdog here. And while Gabriel Santos is probably the pick, the only reason Gabriel Santos is going to be the pick is because he could do what Nate Landwehr did. He can come forward, wrestle heavy, grind heavy, and just try to outwork David Onama. But DraftKings-wise, I'm not spending $9,200 on Gabriel Santos. Gabriel Santos, I don't think he's going to finish David Onama. Who's going to come in here and finish David Onama like that? Nate Landwehr didn't do it. Gabriel Santos is not going to do it. I like David Onama at that heavy discount. I think he's one of the best DraftKings underdogs on this card. Then we have the co-main event. No, we don't. We have the feature fight. Justin Tafa, Austin Lane. Justin Tafa should be in your lineup. $8,800. Listen, heavyweights are always risky. They're always risky. But they're risky because they both hit so hard, and one of them can get knocked out. That's why they're risky. They're risky because they can be sloppy, and it can be a boring decision. That's why they're risky. Justin Tafa's not boring, not going to get knocked out. He has a chin made from a... Take Marvin Vettori's chin and times it by 3 and throw it on a giant New Zealand dude. And that's what you got here with Justin Tafa's chin. That's what you have. It's not going anywhere. Austin Lane's not going to be the guy to get him out of there. Justin Tafa hits like a freight train, has an incredible chin, and the takedown defense is insane because his legs are bigger than my chair and he's lower to the ground. He is taking on Austin Lane. Austin Lane, former NFL player, but he's got questionable chin. He was knocked out by Greg Hardy. And I don't mean to say that as if Greg Hardy doesn't hit hard. That guy obviously hits incredibly hard, but he was knocked out by Greg Hardy. And Greg Hardy's not going to hit any harder than Justin Tafa is. So Justin Tafa should be able to get to Austin's chin, put him out, and score those big points. Austin can try to work in wrestling. If you watch his fights, you do the tape breakdown, he likes to grapple. If he doesn't, he's going to blitz forward. If he can't knock you out, he's going to look to wrestle. And he'll use actual takedowns. He's not taking down Justin Tafa. Nobody else has been able to. Austin Lane's not going to be the guy. Justin Tafa's probably worth that money. He's going to put up some very real points. Now we have the co-main event. I'm going to tell you right now, I think Amanda Ribas wins. I'm not spending $8,900. I don't think she's worth that money. This is a tougher fight than a lot of people think, especially Jacob. Amanda Ribas is very well-rounded. We saw some power in her hands. She didn't get credited with the knockdown over Viviane Araújo, but she knocked down Viviane Araújo in that fight. Amanda Ribas can grapple. She can dance. Her striking's not great, but she's really coming together. She can grapple. She can strike. She can wrestle. She can do all the things. She should be able to beat Macy Barber. Shouldn't be a problem, frankly. But we have seen Amanda Ribas get screwed in decisions, and we've seen Macy Barber get gift decisions, including this one against Lee and this one against Miranda Maverick. Macy Barber is also all the things. Solid boxer. She's got solid grappling when she needs it. She's got takedowns against most of the people that she's fought. I mean, she took down Andrea Lee twice, took down Montana De La Rosa, took down Miranda Maverick, took down Alexa Grasso 3 times, the champion. So I do think Macy Barber loses this fight. I think Amanda Ribas is Macy, but better everywhere except the boxing. She's going to be the better wrestler. She's going to have the higher fight IQ. She's going to be busier. She's going to have the better jiu-jitsu, better takedowns, all the things. Macy's going to be the cleaner boxer, but as long as Amanda's the one pressuring forward and Amanda gets takedowns, she'll get it done. But I got to fade her at that price point, especially after seeing the gift decisions that Macy's continues to get. Main event of the evening, Ilia Topuria, Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett, well, let's talk about Ilia. Ilia is Josh Emmett, but the 2.0 version. Very, very good wrestler. Check. Very good power. Check. But better hands, better jiu-jitsu, better wrestling. It's all the things. He is Josh Emmett, but better. Josh Emmett's a wrestling boxer, right? He can wrestle, and he's going to box. Well, Ilia Topuria can wrestle, box, and submit you. He has one-punch power. He has touch-and-go power. He has takedowns. He has takedown defense. He has all of the things. He's Josh Emmett 2.0. And, I mean, we haven't seen him wrestle heavy in a while, but he took down Zalal 5 times, and he didn't need to wrestle heavy against Jackson or Ryan Hall. Jai Herbert, he was dropped. And that's the one thing that concerns me here. Jai Herbert dropped Ilia Topuria, and Josh Emmett probably has that same amount of power. Granted, that was a weight class up. I believe that was short notice as well, if my memory serves me correctly. And Jai Herbert's a very, 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 very good technical striker, unlike Josh Emmett. So let's look at Josh Emmett very quickly. He's coming off this loss to Yair Rodrigues for the interim title. He got his ass kicked in that fight. But he did beat Calvin Kattar, and this fight was a very impressive performance. A very impressive performance. The Ige win, that holds up as well. The Burgos win holds up. The Bektic win holds up. A lot of people don't know Mirsad Bektic, but he's very good. I mean, these are solid wins that he has here. I still think he's going to lose this fight. I think Ilia Topuria is just too much, too young, too fast, hits too hard, does all the things too well, and he's going to beat Josh Emmett. But Josh's 5-round experience worries me a little bit. Ilia Topuria will be in my lineup. He's worth the money. Guys, don't forget, if you're sort of new to this whole thing, give the courses a try. We have a full course breaking down DraftKings, how it works, how the scoring works, how to build a lineup, how much money you should be spending, where you should be putting it as far as contests are concerned. If you're not new here and you're not new to DraftKings, use the tools. This cheat sheet, I'll tell you right now, we have the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. We either have number 1 or number 2 every single week. And let's say we're number 2 one week, whoever had the best DraftKings ownership projections, that's not the same company every week. We are always 1 or 2. The other person who's ever 1 or 2 is not consistent. We're beating out Roto Grinders. We're beating out all of these big-ass companies that charge $100 a month. We're smoking them with our DraftKings ownership projections. We have a kid. His name is Josh. He's blasting through these numbers, building these custom with all sorts of wild, I don't even know what the hell he's doing, but he's dominating the ownership projections. You're going to get that in the cheat sheet and everything else. WeOwnPicks.com. It's only $10 a month.